It's Wednesday, November 30th, 2022. Um, Last night on Tuesday, the CBS station in New York I have used this saying, wow, you certainly look dapper, Dan. I had no idea what it meant. It just made sense. One of those pinup girl things. Again, I just don't know, but it just worked in the instance once that I used it for, and the person I was addressing, who just kind of smiled and did not say anything. Um, so last night, the New York, artificially intelligent with the human drivers of some sort, put up for me. I mean, I don't know if the fashion police were involved, but they actually put up Dapper Dan in the New York auditorium for the warehouse. And I'm like, now that's interesting. There's a sanitational issue. I was unclear of what it actually looked at and who it actually pertained to. Apparently, it's a New York trendy thing. Um, One of that collective, it's like if consciousness had a collection. I mean, again, we're not on Project Runway, but again, I am working the Bay and just hanging around. So maybe we are at Tarmac. I'm not quite sure. Um, so if they're doing Fashion Runway or whatever, again, I do remember, not that I saw it, but on prime time, Donald Trump did something with a Miss USA contest. They already did the beauty. We got the beauty already knocked out of the park before, so no arguments would ensue in like, I really don't want to do this. I just want a hummingbird and I want to be his respectful flower. I don't want to argue over is football played with your hands? Is it played with your feet? Like, who's getting the last word on that? Just so when the royal visits whatever's working out of Boston at the moment, a Boston Tea Party, we get the right cup of tea at Alice's Mad Hatter Party, which I don't have an invitation for, so here we are. Um, but in the New York scene, my venue put up what an actual Dapper Dan is, which is really helpful just for Raggy. So there's no upset over some other like calculation on Calvin's and black hole theory when there is a very clear defining moment between the sun, the solar system, our planet, and some coexistence that is going on at all times in New York City. I happen to be just coexisting, but I'm, for some reason, even horseshoes on an escalator, I am still unclear where the hummingbird went. So this is what Dapper Dan actually looks like in the trending in New York, for which I'm not on their scene. I don't do Project Runway. I've never been invited, not to that scene, not as a walk-on. Um, Nicholas and I had our own private collection, which was um, somehow delivered from the Smithsonian Museum once upon a time when I was safely in the Glen. But that was my only fashion show experience. Just one. A lot like most of my life. I had one experience and then kept away, Glenway or wherever else, while whatever else was going on.
Lonnie Quinn. Harlem fashion designer Dapper Dan teamed up with The Gap for this Giving Tuesday, a day of donating to charities. Dapper Dan.
Interestingly enough, they keep saying the Forgiving Tuesday. Forgiving Tuesday. Now, again, sometimes the right ear doesn't hear. Like, can you speak into my good ear? Because I'm not quite sure at the who's who, the what's what, the so and so, Sojourner's Truth. So help me God. I've got the kid, he's being held somewhere on Oceanside. I'm still at the Bayside for whatever that's helping out in main matrix of collective consciousness and whatever else they do. But at Fashion Police, here we are. Look at what they are saying. There's a fashion designer of sorts that trends in the New York area, and he calls himself Dapper Dan. Wow.
Donated thousands of dollars to a nonprofit for local young people. CBS 2's Jesse Mitchell joined him at the Brotherhood Sister Soul, where surprises were in store.
This $100,000 donation will fund fashion programming for kids at Brotherhood Sister Soul for the next year. And Dapper Dan.
Notice, just saying, for the guys down in the Washington crowd that I have no access to, they say Brotherhood and Sister Soul. I'm like, well, if the man from the whatever wanted clear definitions, this.
Dan is lending a hand to open those opportunities. To celebrate the launch of his new line of hoodies by the Gap brand, the Dap Man decided to give back in a big
Hoodies, and they're putting him in tartan. Imagine my surprise. Oh my goodness. And instead of it saying Gap, which is the brand that I was adorned in at the Glen, they've changed it to DAP, D-A-P. Just so the D-O-D-D-A-D knows. Just saying.
bigger way to his hometown, curating this collection for the culture.
After Trayvon Martin, I was so preoccupied with how people of color are stigmatized in a hoodie. So when I say now I have a chance to take advantage of the opportunity to destigmatize that.
A candid conversation followed his journey from the streets of Harlem to streetwear icon, and the crowd went.
His journey sojourner. Just saying again at Bible Trivia came up over the weekend. I was in the Episcopalian church. I know who the shepherd is there, who has that staff. And then there's father and mother of the actual building itself, for which I also respectfully gather. And here we are. And I attend Sunday school in the guild room with the appropriate representative who at times says she's Catholic or Orthodox, and then she had to school me on what that meant, because I'm like, yeah, again, it's been years. I'm going to need a clearer definition on what that means, please.
And wild when another local legend, rapper A$AP Ferg, showed up to perform. In a quieter part of this brand new Brosis headquarters, I sat down in the meditation room with co-founder Kari Lazar-White to discuss the impact these interactions can have.
A lot of our work is about exposure. It's about helping young people to understand the possibilities of the world. We're developing agency in young people. We're helping them to really identify their goals for their life, develop a moral and ethical code. What does it mean to be men and women, leaders, brothers and sisters in your community?
And over the next year, Dapper Dan plans to call it.
Interestingly enough, they chose a man who goes by the last name White, but clearly is very confusing if the noir department is calling on from the fashionistas. I mean, I like to get my facts straight when they're involved. Has something to do with high heels and briefs. I'm just saying they are quite the important, integral part of the Tea Party, and with it staying at brief level and not going into some formality of frightening. Like, I don't like to upset the people with ballistic tempers. Really, I do not. Their temperament is they don't really, that I'm aware of, deal with patience. They deal in facts, and it is on some calendar.
Call up his designer friends to continue the conversation here, showing these students a new path to success. In Harlem, Jesse Mitchell, CBS 2 News.
Giving Tuesday so important, and don't forget, check with your employer on matching gifts on
That's
this
a great
day
way to double and
for
triple
donations.
something fantastic.
Organizations like that can sure use it. Coming up on CBS 2.
So, They actually showed Dapper Dan. That was helpful. Now I know what the reference looks like. Now I know that it has something to do with Harlem. Um, never, I mean, divinely inspired to know what Dapper Dan is and that those two go together in Pinup Girl, but not real clear on visual effects until just now. And would I recognize him on the street? Absolutely not. Again, it's a one-time fleeting mention, an artificial intelligence on the big board. And then whether human intelligence connects here, no idea. Not quite sure how cosmically they're moving sundial and the correct whatever and whatever. It's star 1978, star 8378, Nicole, Cattaruzza, it's Earth, solar system, Milky Way, universe, galaxy is broken, and it's Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, 11361.